The every man / every woman is a hero, so also a leading role, but this person is average. He's an average Joe, he's nothing special. Tom Hanks is typecast as this. This is almost every role he's doing, he's just the average Joe. Sandra Bullock is the every woman. Every time she's not cast as the most beautiful woman in the room that everyone's falling over. She's not ugly, she's not, has a growth coming out of her neck. Same thing with Tom Hanks. He's not the most handsome guy. He's not the guy that we're all falling all over, that we're going crazy over, but he's handsome. He's attractive, but he's not beautiful, in the way that people would say Johnny Depp is, or Tom Cruise, or Leonardo DiCaprio. Those guys are the handsome hero. Tom Hanks plays the everyman. Sandra Bullock plays the everyman. I'm the every woman. Then we have the tough guy, tough girl. Michelle Rodriguez falls into this role a lot, the tough girl role. And this is going to be, obviously, that they're still the leading role. They're still a leading person. So they're like the handsome hero, the beautiful ingenue, or the prima donna, or every man, every woman. They're still a leading role. It's just they have an edge to them. They have a grit to them. The bumbling hero or heroine, again, a leading role. But people who are typecast in this are William H. Macy from Fargo is the bumbling hero. We often have Kirsten Wiig is the bumbling heroine. That in a lot of the films that she is, Bachelorette, that's the role she plays, the bumbling hero, the bumbling heroine. So you can see these type of, Cameron Diaz, oftentimes will try to fill this role in Being John Malkovich. You can see how she was filling this role. It's kind of a goofy, unattractive, typically these characters are unattractive. Seth Rogen fills this role, unattractive main characters that are kind of tripping or fumbling their way through what their storyline is or story arc is. So this is typecasting, and again, it is used really to help the box office draw and define the product of that film. What kind of experience are you going to get when you watch that film? So in Bachelorette, when Kristen Wiig took on this role, then all of a sudden she became her own commodity. So all the other films that she's in, there's going to be something that people are looking for to see in that character, to see in that female. Isla Fisher, pardon me. Isla Fisher took the same role in Confessions of a Shopaholic, I think is the name of the film. And she does it in other roles. She actually, I think, has a unique brilliance with the bumbling heroine role that she does. At first, Anne Hathaway filled this role in The Princess Diaries, and then again in The Devil Wears Prada. But she also straddled the beautiful ingenue in both those films and moved into solidly being the beautiful ingenue. She's at a point in her career where she's trying to move into the prima donna role because she's getting older. And that's something that, most older women will transition into. Most men that start out in the handsome hero will stay the handsome hero. Some men that are the witty best friend, Han Solo, played by Harrison Ford, he was the witty best friend. He became the handsome hero role. We have Will Smith that's in the handsome hero role. Denzel Washington is typecast as handsome hero. And, for him to play the villain, that's against typecasting. So in Training Day, he went against typecasting. He's usually playing the handsome hero. So those are just some basic typecasting roles. And again, they're used to help market and budget the film and give expectations and try to guess what the box office returns are going to be on that particular film. As we move into genre, we can see that the conversation becomes a little bit more detailed. We have the different genres that we understand: action, adventure, comedy, drama, horror, and science fiction. These are just your basic genres that tend to exist throughout all of time. Throughout all of filmmaking, we tend to continuously see the presence of the action film, the adventure film, the comedy film, the drama, the horror, and the science fiction. The genres that seem to be time-specific are screwball comedy. That's something from the 1940s. Katharine Hepburn starred in many of them. Audrey Hepburn starred in a few of them. Betty Davis was in a few of them. Those films we don't see anymore. We wouldn't call something a screwball comedy today. We might call it a neo-screwball film, which was When Harry Met Sally. And what distinguishes all of these genres, the ones that continue to exist through times and the ones that tend to get pinned to a particular time period, is that there are conventions that follow with that genre. So conventions of the screwball comedy was that you had a very witty, capable, older woman, Usually she was divorcing the leading man, and the story is about the two of them falling back in love together. It was a moment in time in the 1930s and 40s in which women in society had a real stronghold. The First World War was beginning, and women were being called into the workforce. And so we have women that are starting to wear pants, and women that are starting to make decisions that men typically made. That's happening in society, and it's following and seeing through in the films. Also, a convention of the Screwball Comedy is that it takes place among characters who are wealthy. Women that are wealthy were always educated. Their wealth afforded them education from a child. And so their conversation is very smart, very intelligent, double entendre. They're not the blushing, naive girl that doesn't understand what happens when a man is aroused. They're a grown woman who knows what happens. So the famous phrase of, is that just, whatever in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me, comes from Screwball Comedy. It's a woman that knows so much about, sexuality that she's even using it to make fun, and be flirtatious with it. That's not something that we really would see today. That particular time period and genre film existed for one moment in time, doesn't exist today. Film noir is the same thing. In the film noir, we have usually it's a detective that's the main character, so these are the conventions. The detective is the main character. We have a femme fatale, which means that she's very attractive and she's very alluring, but if you pursue her, you will die. You will meet your demise, the femme fatale. And the lighting is very specific, high contrast lighting, really brights and really darks, shadows being used, and where the bright exists, it's very specific, just a slash over someone's face, as the light cuts across their face, that kind of lighting. The camera techniques that are used, going in, having most of your shots as static close-ups as opposed to moving cameras. That all those conventions all speak to the genre. The film noir genre existed at the end as America's coming out of the last World War, the Second World War. So we're looking at around the 1945, 1948, and just at the top of the 1950s. And these films have a darker outlook on the world because the entire world has just come through a war. You also had a lot of German filmmakers who were escaping the Holocaust or escaping Germany because of the harsh law that fascism was imposing, and moving to America and making films. So that's where the harsh lighting comes from, is from German Expressionism. And some people refer to film noir as American Expressionism because it was very expressive in the same way, but it was coming from an American voice, brought in through techniques of German filmmakers. So those particular genres, the Western is a genre that is specific to a moment in time, the 1950s. As we're being nostalgic, we're now, America has new territory coming out of the Second World War and going into 1950s. America is now a world leader, and America is selling a lot of products overseas. So we have new territories we're conquering. There's a callback to the West when we conquered the West in the late 1800s. So you have, in early 1900s, you have a call back to that, and we see that call coming in the film. So in the 1950s and 60s, we have the Western that's coming about, and it's wide static shots, expansive, pans of the landscape, of how big, this continent is, how large the West is. You have these shot-and-shot reverse shots. So you have the good guy in one shot, the bad guy in another shot, and you're cutting between the two, You have the still camera, where it just is a still shot of both the characters in a face-off in the quick draw. So these conventions all define the Western. And we have the handsome hero as also our typecast role. So these conventions describe one particular moment in time. You won't see that kind of movie made today. So even if someone makes a Western today, they don't use the same camera techniques. They don't use the same, concept of the handsome leading man. The guy who's in white, the bad guy in black. They don't use those conventions from the Western anymore. That Western genre doesn't exist anymore. So those are a few examples of historical genres. These genres I have on the board are not historical. These genres are genres that existed back in 1915 when we first began making feature-length films. The very first one, America's Birth of a Nation, and it goes on to today, to 2014. We still see these genres alive and well. They haven't been pinned to one particular time period. So some of these genres have subgenres. The romantic comedy is a subgenre of comedy. the action comedy, which we're starting to see more often now, is also a subgenre of comedy. And that's going to be an action film that's going to be a comedy film that has a lot of action in it. The mockumentary, again, is a popular subgenre of comedy and very funny, and it's used to parody a particular group of people or institution. Then we have the family drama, which is a subgenre of drama, political drama, and love story. So this is an important one. The love story is a subgenre of drama. So when we're looking at Titanic or we're looking at Avatar, we're looking at something that is a love story. Then we have horror, and of course we have subgenres of horror. We have one popular one right now is found footage, beginning with Blair Witch Project, and I think 97 or 98, maybe 99, that film came out. And all the way now to Paranormal Activity, which is a found footage subgenre of the horror genre. And science fiction. We have science fiction, and we know what science fiction is. We have sometimes people like to discuss hybrid genres. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is a great example. A lot of people say, well, isn't that a hybrid of science fiction and romantic comedy? What we're really seeing and what we need to be clear about as filmmakers, when we look at these genres, we're looking at the conventions. What conventions are we going to use when we're making and creating our story? And we may say in a science fiction film is concerned with the science fiction, that leads the problem of the film, that leads the call to action. The protagonist is 100% wrapped up in solving the science fiction dilemma of the film. In Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, he is not solved with trying to figure out how to scientifically unerase the memories that his girlfriend has erased of him. He's not 100% keyed in with the science of it. Instead, he is 100% keyed in with the romance of it. And it's comedic. It's funny what he's going through. We're laughing, not crying, as he's going through his call to action, his dark night of the soul, his climax. We're in a funny state about it. We're laughing at it because we know, oh, that's so true. We're having that kind of experience with Eternal Sunshine. He's not concerned with solving the scientific problem. He's concerned with solving the romantic problem, and it's handled in a comedic way. It is a romantic comedy with science fiction elements. It's not a hybrid. Very rarely do people have hybrids. And when they have hybrids, they usually have a problem. It's problematic for you not to focus in and settle on the specific conventions of your genre, of the actual film that you want to deal with, the particular film that you want to handle. So very quickly, your genre is a type of film. It's as simple as that. Type, it's actually the French word for type. So now vocabulary, genre, what is genre? Genre is a type of film. Some genres are historic genres. What are examples of historic genres? The Screwball Comedy, film noir, the Western. Those are examples of specific genres that existed in a specific moment in time. So what's a historical genre? It's a type of movie that existed at a specific moment of time. Then we have our list of the genres that we understand as existing today. Action, adventure, comedy, drama, horror, and science fiction. And then we have our subgenres of that. So understand that. What is the industry use for genre? Economics to minimize risk, for budgeting and marketing to increase profit. That is the reason for the industry's use of genre. What is the industry's use for typecasting? The same thing. For economic reasons to minimize risk, and for budgeting and marketing reasons to increase profit. So these are our different examples. An example of the handsome hero is Tom Cruise, Will Smith. For beautiful ingenue, Scarlett Johansson, Natalie Portman. Witty best friend, we have Vince Vaughn as a really great example because he reprises that role over and over again. The dim-witted best friend, Samwise Gamgee from Lord of the Rings. Prima donna, Angela Bassett and Tina Turner. We also have Kate Winslet in Revolutionary Road. Every Man or Every Woman. We have Sandra Bullock in Gravity is a really fantastic example of every woman, that what she goes through and what she becomes metaphorically is the plight of every human being that on earth, the experience they go through. Every man would be William H. Macy in Fargo, that he plays the average guy, the average Joe. Tom Hanks, the average guy, the average Joe.